asked me this in group. Uh, any clue what is a KR01 first of all? What is a DVO1? Let me start. See, bear with me. I will bombard with lot of concepts on you for today. But yeah, it's for your benefit. So help me. What is a DVO1?
Dollar value.
Yeah, dollar value of basis point. So when there is a 1 basis point change in the interest rate, what is the dollar impact on your bond portfolio? That's a DVO1. But see what happens in practical life when I say 1 basis point change. So let me just plot a yield curve. So when I say yield curve, it is time versus your interest rate. Your lower term maturity, say for example, you're depositing your money for 1 year, it will earn lower yield. And as and when you block it for longer period, it will get you higher yield. So this is a simple yield curve. Okay. But when we talk about DVO1, we are talking about change in this rate. But do you think the change can be always parallel in the yield curve? When I say 1 basis point, can I assume that 1 basis point change would be across term structure? Practically, it's not possible, right? That's why these concepts called KR01 or partial 01 are usually used to in the practical life. In practical life, we do not assume that your yield curve will change 1 basis point across term structure. That's very theoretical assumption. In practical, things do not work in that way. There could be a very high demand in the shorter end. So your interest rate may go up with a very high magnitude on the short end. So say here it may change by 2 basis point and here it may just change by 1 basis point. That's where we talk about KR01 concept. Is the fundamental clear why we talk about KR01 and partial 01? So it's a non-parallel shift because your shift may not be parallel. Fantastic. So let's see what is given in the question. So risk manager bank is measuring sensitivity of the bond portfolio. See, this one is a little tricky from the calculation point of view. So bear with me. A risk manager at a bank is measuring a sensitivity of a bond portfolio to the non-parallel shift in the spot rate. The portfolio currently holds the 4-0 coupon bond and 7-0 coupon bond. So there are two bonds. One is 4-year 0 coupon bond and one is 4-year 0 coupon bond with the following sensitivities. So when your 4-year rate changes by 1 basis point, this is a corresponding change. And when your 7-year rate changes by 1 basis point, this is a corresponding change in your bond portfolio. That's the meaning of the table. That's the interpretation of the table. Okay. So what you're asked to calculate to model non-parallel movement, spot rate curve manage treats only 10-year spot rate as a given key rate. Given for what is a KR01. So you are asked to calculate KR01. It's quite similar to DVO1, but in DVO1 we consider parallel shift across the term structure, whereas for this one we will consider change in the interest rate for only key rate maturities. So it tells you that there is only change in 1 basis point in 5-year rate. Your term structure is not changing entirely. These are your key rates. So number one, you have to identify what key rates you're talking about and where exactly is a change. So how do you model this change is something like this. Very important point I'm telling, please be very attentive. So when you talk about 2, 5 and 10-year maturity, and you say that your 1-year 5-year rate has increased by 1 basis point. So there is an increase of 1 basis point here in 5-year rate. Okay. So very important point, please make a note of it. When there is a change in one basis point in the 5-year, your preceding and following, it will gradually drop to 0. This point you have to remember. So what you have to assume that your so at the preceding, it will be at 0 and following it will go down to 0 linearly. Is there any confusion in this point? This is very important point. Further calculation.
Could you repeat that point, please?
Yeah. So when you say that your 5-year rate has changed by 1 basis point, you have to consider that it would be 0 at a preceding key rate tenor, which is 2-year in this case, and following key rate tenor, which is 10-year in this rate. It will go down to 0 in the preceding, which is 2-year, and following, which is 10-year in this case.
Sir, just one thing, if instead of 2-year, if it was 4-year, then
Yeah,
would
that
stay
in fact, are we good with this? In fact, that's something which I'll ask you next to test your understanding. Is this clear? First of all, yes, no. If no,
Yes.
what is not clear?
So are you saying once there's a change in 1 basis point and it's going to go further in future years, then it will further go to 0? Is that the simple understanding? It will move from, for example, 2 and go back down to 0, or go down to 0?
Yes, that's the understanding. Like in the key rate, what basically you assume that your only one key rate is changing. But I mean, essentially any maturity in between, say in this case, that's the next point that we will deal, 4 and 7. So your 4 would be somewhere here, 7 would be somewhere here. We will see that what is the corresponding change at those points if the 1 basis point change at a 5-year. So we will see that. But is it clear to your point? Yeah, it's correct. The next point, it will go to 0. The next following key rate, it will go to 0. So at 10-year, you're talking about 3 key rates. So your 2, 5, and 10. Let me just use different pen color to highlight key rates. So this is your 2, 5, and 10. These are your key rates. So if there is a 1 basis point change at the middle tenor, then you have to assume that it would linearly go to 0 at a preceding key rate and following key rate, which is 10. Does that help, Nishita? Or it was Joyce? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Okay, so now if you understood, let me test your understanding.
Sir, just one thing. The movement is non-parallel, so how come the rate is okay? The rate is linear.
So you're just assuming your 5-year rate has changed. Yeah. You're not assuming that nothing. See, assuming that 2-year, 10-year, nothing changes at all would be again a theoretical. So you assume that it linearly goes to 0 from 5 to 2 and 5 to 10. So now let's assume that you have got these key rates. Now instead of this is just this portion I'm just testing your understanding on key rates. So say for example, instead of these 2, 5, 10, now you have got 2, 4, 5, 10. There is one more key bucket just for sake of understanding. Now, if I tell you that your 4-year changes by 1 basis point, can you tell me how should my picture look like? This increases by 1 basis point, 4-year rate. How my picture should look like?
Basically, look, the 5 should come to, like, it should come, it should arrive to 0 at 5 only. It looks like looking at.
Yeah, at 5 and which are see, first of all, at which tenor rate has changed by 1 basis point? Tell me that. I'll just help you out with a step. In this example that I'm just testing your understanding, at which tenor my rate has increased by 1 basis point?
4.
4. So it is here, it is 1. Now what I said that it will go down to 0 at a preceding and following. So it will go down to preceding in this case is 2 and the next following is 5. So this will look like this. Is it making sense now?
Yes.
Shall I ask you one more example? If my let me not make you more confused. Okay, it's fine. I hope you understood, or because These are the usual key rates that are taken 2, 5, 10, and 30 in your question. Are we good so far? Have you understood this point? This one is the most important point, because if you had not understood this, the next part will not be clear to you.
Sir, but anyways, these 2, 5, 10 are hypothetical thing. What does it means? Like if the next, the nearby point, like I did not, it is just an hypothetical thing, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year.
See, it's not really hypothetical. It's really fund managers notices that which are the actual tenure wherein volatility of demand and supply of the funds is higher. That's where these are derived. It's not really random things anyone picks it up. Okay, so these are actually noticed at which tenors some maximum volatility in context of demand supply of the funds in the bank. Does that help, Nilesh? Okay,
Yeah.
now let's come back to the question. Now, see, you are asked to calculate 5-year rate. If there is a change in 1 basis point at 5-year rate, what is the change in the bond portfolio? You are given the spot rate for so 4 year and 7 years. You are given the increase in that. So what I need to know, what is my change at? So you are just told that your 5-year changes by 1 basis point. But what is my change at 4 year and 7 year? Because I have been given these sensitivities. I have been not given the 5 years. If I were given the 5-year sensitivity, I can directly multiply that by 1 and I can get an answer. But in this case, I have been given 4 and 7 year sensitivity, right? So I have to calculate if my 5-year rate changes by 1 basis point, what is the change at 4 and 7 years? Can anyone think what it can be? Just a thought. If you understand the basic mathematics well, anyone.
The mean of these two changes.
So that would give you a sensitivity, and of course, 4 and 7 years, it will not give you that. What I'm saying, my question is in this context. If my rate at 5-year has changed by 1 basis point, what would be my rate change at 4 and 7 years point? If I get my delta R at 7-year point and delta, so let me call it delta R4 and delta R7 at these point, I can directly multiply it with this 4-year and 7-year. And that would be my eligible answer, because your 1 basis point is changing by 189 point this number, decimal number. If my rate has changed by say 0.5 basis point, then at 4-year my this would change by half of this. Is it making sense? See, little
Could you please repeat that? So could you please repeat that? What do you mean by multiplication of like 4?
So say for example, what this tells you, it's a change in portfolio with 1 basis point increase in the spot rate. So this, when your 4-year spot rate changes by 1 basis point, this is a corresponding change in your bond portfolio. Okay. When your 7-year rate changes by 1 basis point, this is your corresponding change in the bond portfolio. So I'm saying if my rate change, if it is not 1 basis point, if it is 5.5 basis point, then I can just directly divide it by 2 to get my 4-year rate. What is my bond portfolio change from the 4-year rate change? So are we clear, Nilesh, on this? Then I can touch upon this. Basically, my entire argument now boils down to what is my change at 4-year rate and 7-year rate if my 5-year rate has changed by 1 basis point.
Sir, if 4-year rate is changed by 1 basis point, then what was your argument on that part?
It would be 189 in the bond portfolio. Entire bond portfolio will change by your 189 Australian dollars, approximately 0.27, of course. Is the question clear to you? First of all, what you have been asked? You have been given for sensitivity at 4 and 7 years, but what you are given is rate changes by 5 year. So what we are expected to calculate, what is my rate change at 4-year and 7-year if my 5-year rate changes by 1 basis point? Is the holistic view clear of the is the outline clear for the question? All of you? Yes, no, if not clear, let me know. I can explain you. Not a problem. I'll spend my energy. Not a problem. Okay, Nishita, so basically, see, you have been given bond portfolio and you are given sensitivity at 4 and 7th year. So when I say sensitivity, it means if your interest rate at 4 year changes by 1 basis point, how much is the change in your bond portfolio? It's 189 Australian dollars in this case. If your interest rate changes at 7 year by 1 basis point at $302.45. Okay. So if anyone asks me if my 7 year rate changes by 1 basis point, increases by 1 basis point, what would be my change in bond portfolio? If your 7 year rate increases by 1 basis point, what is change in the bond portfolio? You can always look at the table. You can just answer $302. Okay. And in the same way, if someone asks you what if your 4 year rate changes increases by 1 basis point, what is corresponding change in your bond portfolio? It would be $189 Australian dollars. So but life is not that easy. You guys are appearing, you guys are smart, you guys are appearing for one of the most valuable exam called FRM. So you will be given tricky situation. You will not be given this kind of trivial situations. So you are given rate change at 5 year and you are asked to calculate what is change in your this bond portfolio. Is the question clear to you now?
Yes.
Nishita? Still, if not clear, I can explain it again. Not a problem with that. Fantastic. Cool. Let's move. Priyanka, good with you? Rhino? Priyanka, Rhino? Devdar, Lordena? Okay, let's move ahead. So now very important and little bit mathematical. How many of you are from mathematical background? Just out of interest, I like make you explain. Don't worry. But anyone from engineering or mathematics background here? No, no problem. We'll see that. See, if I were to write x and y coordinates of these points, can anyone tell me very school level maths? Can anyone tell me what is a x and y coordinate at this point? School days, back to your school days. A line graph paper, green graph paper. We used to plot coordinates. What is a coordinate at this point?
5 comma something. Which
5 comma what? It's very important. I told you it's a 1 basis point increase. So
whatever.
it's
Okay,
a 1
5
basis point.
comma 5 comma whatever rate was at there plus
Very good point,
point
Nilesh. Yeah, but for
point
sake of
below 1.
understand, yeah, very good point. But for sake of understanding, let's write it as 5-1. Very good spot. Yeah, 5-1. And what about this two? Can anyone else tell me what is the coordinate here?
It's the alpha 2 comma 0 when the x value will be 0.
So 2 comma 0. And what is the coordinate here at 10 and 0?
10 comma 0.
10 comma 0. So essentially what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to calculate slope of this line. So there is a straight line. Can anyone tell me what is the slope of straight line? How we calculate delta? Like it was call change in call with respect to change in spot. In a similar way, you can calculate y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. So it would be equal to y2 minus y1. So my y coordinate is 1 here. And so this is your x2 and y2. And this is your x1 and y1. So if I calculate y2, that is my 1 minus y1. y2 is 1, y1 is 0. And my x2 is 5 and x1 is 2. So it is 1 by
अब मेरे को बोल रहा है कि तुम फेल हो जाओगे ये बदला बोलना चाहता है कि तुम फेल हो जाओगे
who was that? कोई नहीं fail होगा. Don't worry, everyone will pass. Okay, everyone will pass. Keep that feeding in your subconscious mind. Everyone will pass. Don't worry. I think someone's mic was on unmute. So yeah. So y2 minus y1, that is 1 minus 0, 5 minus 2. So it's 1 by 3. So my slope is 1 by 3. Now, can you tell me if I were to calculate? So I know my x coordinate, I know 4. Can you tell me what would be my r here? So that's what I'm interested in, delta r. So I want to know what would be this x, sorry, this y along with 4. So if I just take now these two coordinates, I know slope of this line 1 by 3. So what I'm doing, I'm just calculating 1 minus this y coordinate here, 1 minus y and 5 minus 4. So I'll just rearrange this and get the y. So if I put this 5 minus 4 on another side, so 5 minus 4 is 1. It would be again 1 by 3. So 1 minus y is equal to 1 by 3. So your y is equal to 1 plus 1 by 3. It's slightly unusual because I can see it is going down. So ideally it should be something lesser than 1 because it has increased by 1 basis point. Some let's coordinate would be there. It would be say some point, decimal point. Y2 minus y1. So your y2 is 1, 1 minus 0, and x2, which was 5, minus x1, which is 5 minus 2. Okay, it was 2. And now I got slope. Okay, so I'm equating this slope m with this new coordinate. So earlier I used this, now I'm using 4 and y. I want to estimate y, basically delta r. So 5, so 1 minus 4. So 1 minus y, that's correct. Divide by 5 minus 4. That's also
Why
correct.
it's -4?
Because
Because
you're
1 minus I does not 1
so
divided
initially
by 3.
so can you so slope is 1 by 3. Okay, so I got the slope
Yes.
of this line is 1 by 3.
Yes.
So now I want to calculate. So my another set of coordinates is 4 and y and 5 and 1. And I know that my slope is 1 by 3 and I want to estimate my y. That's the objective. So I'm just why I'm calculating 1 minus y divided by 5
Exactly.
minus 4 is equal to 1 over 3. That's my slope. So if I were to estimate, my only point is like this 1 plus 1 by 3 is not making sense to me because it would be less than 1 because it is declining towards 0. Okay, let me check if this would have been minus 1 by 3. If we calculate 1 minus 0, okay, my 1 and y coordinate is 0, okay, 5 minus 2. Ideally, this line looks like having a negative. Ideally, this geometrically, if I look at this line, this should have a negative slope because if my okay, it's if his x is decreasing, I think it's correct because your x is decreasing, you are moving towards left, y is coming down. So ideally, positive symbol makes sense. Where we are going wrong, I'm just curious to know because if I just tell you this, you will know that where this came from because I think a lot of people were confused on this, how your 4-year rate changes by this much amount. So that was not clear to many people. So I just thought I'll give you the insight of that calculation, but somehow it doesn't look like it's working.
So that's basically the intuition is that we have to somehow fit this point into the on the line which is nearest to the like the point spotted, like 5 years, say. And
Yeah, so in this case also, like you have to, yeah, see, eventually you have to calculate delta R and delta R4. What is the rate change at 4-year, rate change at 7-year? That's the objective. You know the x coordinate, which is a timeline. It's a 7-year. Here I know x coordinate, which is a 4-year. It's just a y coordinate that I'm trying to estimate. Given at 5-year rate change was 1 basis point, what is the rate change at 4-year and 7-year? These points I'm interested in, y coordinates. Are you following, Nilesh?
Yeah, basically, you are talking about the slope now. One would be negative, one would be positive.
So-
This is what.
So 5 and 1. Yeah. Any comments from anyone? So 5
Yeah.
and 1.
Actually, you made a mistake in the calculation in the
Please,
last.
yeah, tell me. I'm curious to
Yeah,
know
so
where.
y has to be, if you got it to this side, it would be 1 minus 1 by 3, which will be 2 by 3 answer. If you see it in
Let
the
me.
last.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
I think we
exactly.
were correct. We were correct. Okay. So if I bring y here, so it would be y equal to 1 minus 1 by 3. So can you calculate this me now? I think now we are, I mean, lot of calculations and lot
2
of
by
stuff. So it's 2 by 3. So now you have got your rate change at 4 year is 2 by 3. Can you, in a similar way, can I ask you something? Can you calculate me R7? Let me write you y and x coordinate here. So for this territory here, your x coordinate and y coordinate are for 1, 5, 1, and another x coordinate are 7, and this you are interested in. First, calculate the slope using 5, 1 and 10, 0. Over here, it would be this data that would be used. First, you will calculate the slope from 10, 0 and 5, 1. So let's calculate together. Let me call it as M2. So your y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, 5 minus 10. So this one is quite evident that it will have a negative slope, because as you are proceeding ahead, if your x is increasing, your y is decreasing. So it is quite evident that it will have a negative slope. So it would be minus 1 by 5. Slope is minus 1 by 5. So now I know my M2 minus 1 by 5. So I will substitute this in y minus 1 and upon 7 minus 5. So y minus 1 upon 7 minus 5. So it's 1 minus 1 upon 5 is equal to y minus 1 upon 2. So it would be minus 2 over 5 and equal to what do you call y minus 1. So if I add minus 2 over 5 and minus 1, again it is greater than 1. Again I made some mistake. Can you guys calculate it for me quickly? I'll just have some water. 1 minus 0, 5 minus 10, because I'm keen and I need to know that, is equal to minus 1 over 5. So minus 1 over 5 equal to y minus 1 and 7 minus 5. That's correct. Okay, again, so if I bring this, so I'm very basic mathematic mistake. If I bring this minus on this side, it would be plus. So 1 minus 2 by 5. How much it is? 1 minus 2 by 5. Can you calculate 2 by 3 for me? Let me also calculate. First of all, are you following intuition? See, calculation you guys can take care of. So 2 by 3 is around this number. So if you do this calculation, you will not know what to do. But something, I mean, see, to be honest, there is no way you can remember. So that is the reason I asked you to. So 4 minus 2, you can just remember, or easy way would be, see, this is a logical thing. So 0.6667. And if you subtract 2 by 5 from 1, it's this number. To divide by 5, 40. Yeah, 0.6. I'm getting 0.6. So this is a logical background for exam point of view. I'll give you simple hint. So just check or arrange your key rates in the order. So 2, 4, and 5. So what you can do, you can just subtract this one from this 4 minus 2, divide by 5 minus 2. Likewise, when you are dealing with 5, 10, and 7, what you can do, sub 10 minus the last one, but and 10 minus 5. So, but yeah, I mean, see, to be honest, I'm little uncomfortable remembering this. That's why I preferred this way. But yeah, so eventually once you have got these rates, what is the change at 4th year and what is the change at 7th year, then you can just multiply with what was 1 basis point move, but your spread has not moved by 1 basis point. It just moved by 0.66 basis point. So you will multiply 0.66 point with a 189 and 0.6 with a 302, and you will get your answer, which is 302.1 this. Are you together? Like 1 basis point change will cause this much, but my spread has changed by 0.667. So I will multiply 189 with 0.667 and 0.6 with 302, and I'll get the final answer. Are we together or many people lost? See, these are tricky ones. If you get these, I will suggest that focus first on the easy ones, because sometimes if you forget this calculation, it may be difficult. Because see, I mean, I am not able to have the pattern to derive this kind of stuff. Thank you, Priyanka. What about Nilesh, Nishita, and I think I see more comments.
Yeah, it is clear, sir. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Joyce. Thanks for acknowledging. Nishita, any doubts I can address? Okay, cool. So let's
I'm
move.
good.
Fantastic. Can we break for 5 minutes? Will you be coming back, or like, I just want to ensure that we cover a pending question. Those are also important. That will also help you understanding a lot of.
Could you put back the question on the screen, please? I said
Sorry, can you repeat?
the question. Could you put back the question on the screen a second, please? I just want to see something.
Yeah, this one.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Most welcome. See, calculation and this stuff. Okay, cool. Thanks, Joyce. So calculation and other stuff is fine, but entire idea is clear to you. See, learning is more important. Of course, getting good marks in an exam also is important, but understand, I mean, this was a basic elementary maths, which was needed.